So I take full responsibility on this, being a leader, because I should have spotted for myself and been like, I hope he lands okay. I'm going to jump over the drop zone because you fly like a brick, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm going and I'm like trying to remember like, oh, what happens if you like don't land in the landing area? And there's just vineyards all over the place in Cloverdale, California. So it's beautiful when you actually land in the landing area, but when you don't, it's scary. So I should have landed like in these different spots, but I was just like so freaking out that I didn't know what to do. I'm trying to remember everything they taught me, and I'm going straight for this vineyard. And they said to land with the vineyard rows. You don't want to cross them, obviously. And I'm looking for power lines. I'm looking for like everything possible. I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? And I see this like big open dirt patch. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to land in the dirt patch because I'm so close. Like my trajectory, it's going to help me land there. So I'm going for it and everything's cool. And I didn't see the one set of power lines right in the middle of the vineyard.
Oh. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Leading with Audacious Confidence. I am your host, Alicia Couri, and with me today is another very confident man. He is James Allen, and he is all about the unshakable confidence. So, you know, I'm audacious, he's unshakable. So let me tell you a little bit about James, and then we'll jump right into this. So James is on a mission to help people discover and create their own MPI, which is their massive positive impact. The way he does this is by teaching people how to become the most authentic versions of themselves, finding a way to make money, doing only what they love, then helping them share that with the world. That is how we make a massive positive impact. Whether it's one stream or multiple streams of income, James believes that with all of the passions we have, we can find a way to create a comfortable and sustainable income purely based on what we love to do. The way he does this is by teaching people how to become unshakably confident in themselves, their dreams, and their teams. James has appeared on various podcasts, spoken on stages across the United States, coached executives in major companies, and helped youth become better leaders for tomorrow. He's a certified skydiver, woo, avid CrossFitter, lover of the outdoors, and a drummer in a punk rock band called One Armed Joey. So welcome to the show, James.
Hey, thank you, Alicia.
Hi.
Super grateful to be here.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. So we met at another event together, and we talked about doing stuff together. I've been a guest on your show, and now you're a guest on mine. And we look at confidence in the same way, but we approach it from different angles. So like we both see confidence as this thing that no matter what situation we're in, we need to be unshakable in who we are and what we believe in, right?
Yep, 100%.
So how did you come to your discovery of confidence?
Yeah, so confidence was something that I struggled with for a really long time, which is why, you know, turning my mess into my message, confidence was a huge piece of it. I grew up in a less than ideal kind of childhood where my parents were involved with outlaw biking gangs. And it was chaos, you know, my entire childhood. And the time that I was 5 to 8 years old was the absolute worst of it. I ended up talking with my mom like years down the road, but I was like early developmental stages of my life. And my parents would literally, like, I grew up with alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and physical violence. And you just never knew what was going to happen. And I was just a young kid watching it, and it freaked me out too. It was weird because I would see my parents like literally almost killing each other. Like It got that bad. And my sister and I, Jamie, so James and Jamie, we would have to witness. No, we're not. She's 8 years older than I am. But yeah, so we have a pretty big gap. But we had to just kind of deal with this growing up. And we would just like, when they'd fight, we didn't know what to do. So we'd go inside of our room and just hold each other and cry because there's nothing we could do.
What the outcome was. Wow.
Right. It was weird to see that my parents would be like literally almost killing each other. And then the next day they're hugging each other, laughing, joking around. And it was super toxic. And I'm just like, this is weird. And just seeing this at such a young age,
Such a mixed message of
it
what
is.
love is.
Yeah, it was really confusing. What I realized, speaking on love just real quick, is that my parents loved each other so much. What I realized is that they didn't know how to love themselves, which is
Mm.
such a critical piece in confidence that I
Mhm.
learned down the road. So dealing with all that growing up, it was really, I was just confused, and I was more emotionally and mentally abused than anything.
Mm.
Well, I was never physically abused, but mentally and emotionally. And that was something that, talking with people who were physically abused, they said that like hits harder almost, because like the
Mhm.
pain can go away. You can kind of get over
Bruises
some of those
heal,
things.
and yeah,
Yeah, but like the
that
emotions and
the
the thoughts,
emotional stuff.
those can really stick with you for a long time. And it just carried on throughout the rest of my schooling. I was in the fourth grade when my parents had this extremely messy divorce. My dad almost died. Mom got sent away for a long time. I won't get into all the details right now,
Wow.
but um, it was just a lot. And yeah, that spilt into my junior high school, the rest of elementary school. And I just like missed out on so many great opportunities because I lacked self-esteem and confidence in
Mhm.
myself, and just didn't think I deserved the good things like quality relationships, or to go on the right kind of dates. And every
Mhm.
time I'd be with like a girl, I would just like like I couldn't make the move. I'd be able to
Right.
talk with them or whatever. And it was a struggle for me. But it wasn't like just with girls, it was a lot of things. And I realized, like, if I could just be more confident, then my life would open up. I just
Mhm.
knew that. And my mom had been pressuring me. I was like 17. She'd been pressuring me for so long, like, James, read this book, read this book. And I kept blowing her off and just like reading like terrible articles on Google about how to be confident. It wasn't really like a real expert that I had found. And the book was The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Mhm.
So
And
I
it's not
read
even
that.
a big book.
It's not, no, but
It's
it's
not even
so
a big book.
powerful.
I know, but I'm
Yeah.
like, if she was giving you War and Peace to read, that was one thing.
I
But she's giving you this little book, and you wouldn't read it.
I didn't want to listen to her. Yeah, I was just like, no, I can figure it out. I can do it myself. So I came home one day and the book was just on my bed. She just threw it on my bed. So I'm
Mhm.
like, all right, fine. She's persistent. I'll give her that. So I lay it on the bed and I just opened it up, and it tells you what the agreements are
Right.
on like the first little flap. And I saw, don't take anything personally. I said, okay, that's something that, kind of resonates with me. I'm a little drawn to that. So I started reading the book, and just in starting the book and reading it, like, I'd never read a book. I didn't care about books, with all my
Mhm.
crap going on in my head. So I fell in love with that book. I literally read it every day for like
Wow.
3 or 4 months, every single day. And every morning I'd wake up and I'd make those agreements. I think I read over half the book like that first day. And it was like, 3 p.m. And I'm not like the best reader, or wasn't at the time, but
Mhm.
I just got like sucked into it. It was the first book that really did that for me. And I started using the things I was learning. I
Mhm.
noticed that my life started to change. People started to treat me different because I was getting more secure in myself and starting to love myself, which is really what the book's about. It's about personal freedom.
Yeah.
And, the book's really about you being
Mhm.
authentically you, which is why I care so much about authenticity. And I
Yeah.
believe that like being 100% confident means that you're authentic, you're
Yeah.
transparent, you're real, and it's, like being authentically you and falling in love with yourself and your aspirations or your dreams. And then of course your teams is it doesn't have to be like a corporate team. It can be your family, it can
Right.
be your friends, it's your tribe, that's
Mhm.
your team. And it could be a group that you're in or something. It's just, you want to have confidence in these things. And confidence, really, the word just translates to trust. That's
Yeah.
really what it is. So doing team building and whatnot, it's about having people have this trust and companionship with each other. It's about relationships, because I grew up with crap relationships.
Yeah.
I saw enough of that. So I got obsessed with how to have great relationships.
I love how you say it's about trust, because it's true. And so many times we don't take the time to learn enough about ourselves to trust ourselves. And that's why we're not confident in who we are. Sometimes we can be confident in what we can do, but we're not necessarily confident in who we are because we don't trust ourselves, because
Mm.
we inherently lie to ourselves about a lot of things that aren't true.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's something I think like a big component in being more confident is putting yourself in situations that make you not confident,
Yeah.
that make you insecure or uncertain. And like we've talked about this before, but your ability to figure things out. Like, I believe that personal confidence really boils down to two things, in my opinion. Some people can add or take away things, but I believe that it's the amount of trust and belief you have in yourself, and then your ability to figure things out or
Yep.
to do things.
Yep.
If you know that you can do something, you're confident. It's like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah.
But if like I get presented with things all the time, especially when growing business, and business is cool because it's like a never ending challenge,
Yeah.
so you can always reach that next level. But like
Yep.
we always get presented with something. It's like, I don't know how to do this.
Right.
And how you show up in those situations is going to make or break you,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even today, I know this is pre-recorded. So today I was presented with an opportunity to do something that I've never done before. But the thing is, I know what I can do and I know what not to do. And because it's other people's lives and other people's businesses that are at stake, I just said, you know what? That's not in my wheelhouse. While I would love the challenge to do it, because it's dealing with other people's businesses, I would rather let's go this direction where I can help them this way instead of this other way, because I know that's not. And you have to have the confidence in yourself to be able to say those things that,
Yep.
you know what, I don't know that. And
Right.
I'm not going to while I'd love to learn it, but this isn't an on-the-job training situation, because this is real serious stuff happening here.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to sit back and learn, but in the meantime, this is where I can help you, and this is what I can do. And I'm really confident, super confident in that, but it's still taking me out of my comfort zone to do it, because of the work that I do. It's at a much higher level than what I'm normally doing. So I'm still being challenged to do it. I'm not saying like, oh no, I'm not going to do this over here because I'm afraid. I'm saying, I know what I can and I know what I can't. And so while I learn this over here, let me stay with what I do know that's still going to challenge me. So that's, it's understanding who you are and what you can and should not do. Not can't, because we can always learn stuff, but what you shouldn't do and the timing for that. Let me ask you about leadership, because you work with leaders, you work with corporate leaders and other types of leaders, but what is your personal philosophy on leadership?
I mean, there's a lot that goes into leadership. I feel that's why there's, tons of people get certifications and coaching it, and people spend all this money to learn it. I think that, to put it like simply, it's leading by example. It's setting the example, and being able to have like a connection with people. I think being approachable is something that a lot of leaders, quote unquote leaders, because John C. Maxwell talks about, he's like the dude on leadership, and I study him a lot. But he mentions that like you can be in a leadership position, but just because you're in a leadership position doesn't make you a leader. And he shared a story about how he was running a church, and he was like 25 years old, but he's running this church. So he's in the leadership position, but there was this like really old dude there who'd been there for like decades. And he'd been a part of the church, like on the kind of the board, and every time John would talk, people would kind of have chit chat or whatnot. But when this guy talked, the old dude, everybody would listen.
Right.
And he was not in the leadership position, but he was the leader.
He was an elder of the church, and everybody knew him and everybody respected him.
Yeah, because he had a way of like connecting with people. And that's why, growing up with my family in that way, it was, and just seeing how toxic and like chaotic it all was.
Yeah.
I got obsessed with relationships, and leadership is about relationships. People aren't going to follow someone that they don't like or that they don't trust.
Or they don't trust. Right.
I mean, every business owner is a leader in some way. They even you see these ads online. It's like, if you don't feel like the person or like the person or feel like you can trust the person, you're not going to invest in their programs or go to their training. And it's you have to have that connection with people. And I think that's something that makes a really great leader, and also leading by example and setting the standards that you follow and that your team can say, well, he does it, so I'll listen to him or her.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do agree with that leading by example is a big thing. I mean, I'm hearing, doing this podcast, you hear everybody's kind of where they see leadership, and it's so super interesting. But it does boil down to trust. And if I can trust you to take me where we need to go, which is also about vision casting and everything. So we're going to go back a little bit to confidence and talk about like some of the things that you've seen from some of the clients that you've had where in their leadership role where they've had struggling with their confidence, like what is some of the things that they struggle with at that level?
Yeah. So one client of mine has a janitorial business and he does really well in his business. He works in the Bay Area, like in Marin and up by me by like Santa Rosa and kind of just all over Sonoma County and Marin. And he calls me one day and we do our call. And usually when I do my calls, I like to do something that we're grateful for and then a win that you had this week or something you're proud of, you can do as well.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of like sets the tone for a positive call and a positive like vibe for the call. And he didn't even do it. He just went like, nope, like I am so overwhelmed with all this crazy stuff happening right now. And I just don't know what to do. He's like, I don't think I can do these calls anymore because it's just too much commitment. I was like, oh my God, you're just crazy. Because doing the calls is how he has been able to unlock all these amazing opportunities because he doesn't think about them when he's stuck in his daily grind. This is like time devoted to him. Right. And I was just like laughing. I'm like, okay. So he was so stressed because he like what he was explaining to me was that he's like running back and forth and he might as well have had a cape attached to the back of his company car because he was trying to be Superman. He's like flying from one county to another county. Yeah. And his problem was that he didn't delegate. So as far as like confidence was that he wasn't delegating to people because he didn't feel like he could trust anyone in particular with the things that he felt that he could do himself. And it's a huge thing in leadership, you know, especially when you start growing and scaling is delegation.
Delegation. It's huge.
Yeah. So we talked about it and he was feeling super overwhelmed. It's funny. I've had, it's kind of interesting when I have different coaching calls, like everybody kind of matches up with a theme. So like literally that week, everybody was feeling overwhelmed. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I can just do the same thing I did with everybody else. So when people are feeling overwhelmed like that, it's so helpful to do it yourself or to have someone you can do it with, but just write down everything that is like so quote unquote overwhelming, but you get it out there and it tends to be, it seems like it's 100 things. It tends to be about 3 things. But it just feels like there's so much involved with each one that it's like
because it's a pressure, right? Like there's a time pressure or something is putting pressure on it to make it have to happen right away. And that's what makes it overwhelming.
Right. Well, it's kind of interesting when you talk about pressure because, you know, our bodies have, there's like a gravitational amount of pressure where it's like 14 pounds per square inch or something like for every human. And what's interesting is that there's that much pressure, but on the inside, there's an equal amount of pressure pushing outward. It's outward pressure. So that's why we're not like feeling like we're so heavy, you know, and it's like it equals out and we just had gravity. But sometimes it feels like there's more pressure on the outside. And what we have to do is we have to equalize that pressure by having this inside pressure from working on the inside out. You see what I mean? And that's kind of where these things happen. That's where it's valuable to have little exercises like that, where you just take a breath. You know, I write it out for them when I'm doing a call with them and just let them talk.
Yeah.
And it's so valuable. But yeah, it ended up being like 3 things. And he's like super tripping. I said, Sarah, like you have to delegate. You just have to do it. And he's like, I don't know anybody that can do it. And we just like started thinking about it. And he said, well, there's this guy that's been with me for like 10 years. I said, okay. And he said his English wasn't that good. And I told him like, well, he's going to get better at it by doing it more.
Yeah.
And anyway, he ended up finding this guy and started working or like started having him basically run like down in Marin so that my client could be running.
He doesn't have to run back and forth all the time.
And he just does like a phone call, just checks in with him. And the guy was like ecstatic to be getting this promotion.
Have this opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. And my client
because you can't see the forest for the trees. Like you're stuck in your thing, which is why coaching is so important at every level, because you're stuck in your own little world and you can't see other opportunities around you to relieve some of that pressure, that stress, that overwhelm. So
yeah. And it was interesting too, because this is like that relationship aspect in this story. But we talked about this. It was like the next week or the next time we talked, it was a couple of days later. We just did a quick little follow-up call. And he was super happy. He's like, this is going to be so big for me. And he was like, thank you so much for like not giving up on me and just saying like giving into my craziness. And he realized that like by him delegating, that was going to like unlock so much pressure for him and it was going to help him out so much. And I said, that's amazing. Like, I'm so happy for you. So what are you going to do for him? he said, what do you mean? And I said, how are you going to reward him for stepping up to the
And
plate?
stepping into that plate.
You got to give him, but he wasn't used to delegating. He's such an amazing dude, but he just wasn't used to delegating. That didn't even cross his mind. So, yeah, he was thinking like, I said, you can like give him a pay raise. You can give him a company car, with like a gas card, like something like that. And it's, we talked about this a while ago, but it's like those deposits that we make in our relationships.
Right.
I think this is really big as far as a leader. It's one of my favorite things as far as relationships, but thinking about like a bank account, you have to make deposits in a bank account to fill it up before you withdraw.
Yeah.
And so many people want to just withdraw. And like, you can do that from the bank. You can open a bank account, just start withdrawing, but then you get into debt. And then you have to put that money back somehow or pay those people back. And it's literally the same thing with the relationships. Just instead of money, the currency that we're using is love. It's attention. It's that caring towards people, and giving value in that way. And it's something that every great leader has to get down, especially, I mean, everybody should just get it down, but especially leaders, because you have to give to people your attention. Simon Sinek talks about like when people have their phone, they sit in a meeting and they just set their phone on the table. It's like, am I the most important thing to you right now? Like if you put the phone away, like if someone sat and you had your phone, you just completely like put it in your pocket, shut it off, and then said, okay, what's going on? People would be like, oh my God, he actually cares.
Right.
That's a deposit you just made.
And during this pandemic, a lot of the leaders, a lot of people have been saying that they have more access, or they're hearing from their leaders more. They're hearing from the CEO more because everybody had to go remote. They had to find a way to communicate stuff to everybody. So they were getting on Zoom with the senior executives. They were seeing them. They were having more interaction with them, getting to see them in their home environment. And it drew a lot of companies a lot closer because of that. A lot of people got to appreciate the leadership a lot better through this time. So what you're saying is really, really great. As leaders, you have to think, how are you depositing into the people that are giving their days for you, for your business, for working to make your company, or even if it's not your company, but the company that you're leading, a success. What about you? What has been one of your, as you're, growing your business, what has been one of your biggest mistakes that you think that you've made that probably shook your confidence a little bit? And how did you overcome that?
I'll think of a good one.
You don't have to find a good one. I think anyone is a good one.
Yeah, there's a lot of like learning curves, but
every day is a learning curve.
It really is.
Every day is a learning curve.
Yeah, mistakes that have really shaken my confidence. I think that I've like a mistake that I made. I'm grateful I made it, caught it early on, was kind of overloading myself with things and not putting the attention towards the people that I made agreements to, like being a part of too many groups, because that's like, it's the relationship, it's the deposit. And then they see you as like a slack, because I chose to overload myself with too many commitments. I'd rather have less commitments. Less commitments that I commit to, that I pour more attention and, whatnot into. I think that was a really big mistake on my part, but I'm glad that I noticed it early on.
Because I that's one of the, when I talk about the 7 steps to audacious confidence, the last one, 7, is knowing how and when to say no, and when and how to say yes. Because a lot of times out of fear, we say yes to the wrong things because we're trying to people please, or we don't want to disappoint someone, or, and that's where we get overloaded, when it's okay to say no sometimes if you have too much on your plate. And then being able to say yes to things that you probably are saying no to because you're afraid of stepping into. So lean into that and say yes to those opportunities.
Right.
So that's really big what you're saying.
Yeah. It's
overcommitting.
I think making decisions like that is like a great question to help me. A really simple question that helps me make better decisions is just, what would I love? It's and for me, it helps so much. Just if it's like there's two different things, two different groups that I'm going to join, it's like, what would I love? And if it is both of them, it's like, okay, well, how can I make that work? The quality of our life is based off the quality of questions that we're willing to ask. So if you want both things,
I
you have
love
to
that.
say, okay, well, how can I make both of them work? And then you can make both of them work, but be insanely busy and not have any time. Or you could say, how can I make them work and still be able to have the time to do what I want to do or make the commitments that I have made? It's like the same thing as like, okay, how do I make it to the end of the month? Well, you'll find ways to make it to the end of the month and just barely like skid by. Or you can say, well, how could I excel my income and like go on a trip to Italy and make $10,000 doing it?
Yeah.
You start focusing on that, then you start getting ideas on how to make that stuff work.
Right. Because what you focus on expands. So
It does.
yeah. Awesome. How, I wanted to understand, because you talk about the 4 agreements, how did you really start your journey, not just of your own confidence, but then into creating this business for yourself?
Yeah. So I love 4 agreements. I freaking fell in love. I don't know if that's like bad language, but I get passionate. I fell in love with personal development because I could see that, like I said, like people started treating me different. I started helping people like my friends and family and whatnot, and just falling in love with like, hey, I learned this super cool way to like not take things personally. Or if you like just honest, then things make it it makes everything so much easier, instead of lying. And I was just coaching my friends and family and just strangers that I'd meet and have conversations with. And I didn't realize it was coaching. I just wanted to help.
Right.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do because, again, I was like 17 when I started reading that book and started making changes. So I followed my dad's footsteps in construction, which he did for about 30 years. Got into that, and I was going to do a 5-year commitment, and that way I could always be vested. I could always fall back on it if I wanted to. And I ended up just kind of going into it, and it was fun at first, but about a year in, I just felt this sinking feeling of like, I'm not happy. And I had a great relationship at the time. And I became a certified skydiver with the money that I made from construction. I was in the highest paid plumbing unit in the world. So I was making good money, depending on who you talk to. But for the average Joe, it was a great job. And I had crazy good benefits. It could literally shock your doctor. I was making about $1,000 plus a week, $100 to $1,500 every week, just steady. Didn't matter. Most people would kill to have that. But I just couldn't help that I was not happy. I had this low sinking feeling, and it felt like I was checking my soul at the door every time I went into those concrete buildings.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not worth it.
No, and you can tell how much you enjoy your work based off how much time you spend in the bathroom. So I used to spend a lot of time in the bathroom
or
trying,
picking up the habit of smoking.
I was never a smoker, so everybody knew that too. I was gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna smoke a cigarette.
Everybody's always out on a break.
And my break, my smoke break, quote unquote, was to like go into the bathrooms because I was like, oh, I can just kind of get away and like sit down like this. But I'd rather be in like the stinky porta potty than actually doing my job. And it was something interesting why I'm so passionate about helping people find work and just enjoy their jobs. It's not necessarily making everybody be an entrepreneur unless that's what they want to do. That's a path that you can make. But some people, it's like, I just want to be in a different position at the current company that I'm in. I want to have a better connection with my employees, because they could love the company, love all the benefits, the perks and whatnot. But there's just something like that, the relationship with the boss. That's why it's like the relationship is so important. And I would just sit in the porta potty. I'd rather sit in that stinky porta potty than go do work. But I was really good at what I did. I was like they were grooming me to be like one of the foremen on the job and like run my own jobs. I was running my own jobs, like small jobs. But little did they know, I was like, I got to do something else. And it felt so like, this is something that's common for a lot of people, is that when you know that you're unhappy in your job, but you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, like there's something more. It's lonely. It's scary, honestly.
It is.
And that's how I felt for a while until I saw an email from Tony Robbins, and it was to have a call, like a strategy session with a results coach. And I got on the call, and the guy's name was Al. And he was this really like confident, successful dude making great money. And he's helping people like have better results and live lives that they really enjoy. And I'm like, you can get paid to do that? I was like, what? And it's funny because shortly before that
I'm doing this for free.
I thought, well, it was just something I was passionate about. I just loved doing. And I was thinking like, I would love to have a job this is before I did the call, where I could help people like be the best versions of themselves and make life be what they want, and at the same time be working on myself and somehow get paid to do that. And I
Mm.
didn't know what coaching was, but literally I just said I want to be a coach. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
and yeah, and then I did the call with Al, and just after the call, I thought like I want to be like Al, and I started seeing these things differently. I'd watch the videos on my commute to work because it was about an hour drive to the city, and I would listen like Tony Robbins or Jack Canfield, you know, Brendan Burchard, and all these different people. And I was thinking in my head, this little voice just came up. It was like, that could be you. I thought,
Yeah.
really? That could be me. Like, it just like a whole new world for me. And I just started like the more and more I thought about it, and the more I studied it, I was like, is this even like really a thing? Can it be possible? Can I make as much as I'm making now, or even more maybe, doing something I actually enjoy? And it was like, yes, you can, because there's people doing things that you want to be doing. I'm not saying everybody needs to be a coach, but like some woman, I was in a Facebook group, and she's like, I can't be like a knitter. You know, I want to knit cloth, and I can't make money doing that. And I literally went online and I said, highest paid knitter, $1 million. This chick made $1 million like selling knitting on Etsy or something. It's like, okay, well, if she can do it, you can too, because the high tide rises all boats.
Right.
So, yeah, I fell in love with this whole coaching. The more I studied it, the more I fell in love with it, just sitting in the porta potty. And one day in the porta potty, I saw this woman pop up on the screen named Mary Morrissey. And she was saying she certifies people in being a coach and helping people transform their results from one set of results into a new set of results. And I just was like, sold. I'm in.
Yeah,
like,
I'm doing
it. Like, and it gave me, you know, it gave me that light at the end of the tunnel. And then work started getting a lot more enjoyable for me, to an extent, just because I knew that it was
a way out. Yeah.
There was a way out, and I was working towards it. So that was like my motivation. It was like, it's just one more day, like one day closer. I just kept telling myself, even though it was like months away. Or even like
right. Yeah, that's like
so,
how I felt when I was leaving my job as a flight attendant. Not that it was a bad job. It was a great job, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. So
yeah. And that's the thing. It's like one of my favorite quotes is by Howard Thurman, where he said, don't do what you think the world needs. Do what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is more people who've come alive.
Wow. I love that.
Isn't that powerful?
That is powerful. Yeah.
And it's so true. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, is because when you see kids opening toy boxes on the internet, making millions of dollars, like, you can find a job that you enjoy. You know, you can make a sustainable income doing something you like. And not everybody needs to be a millionaire. A lot of people would be happy just to make six figures.
Yep.
And it's like, I mean, you do simple math with people. It's like, it's not that far away for people. It's just people have fear because money's involved, and they get
wrong beliefs around money.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, so yeah, that's pretty much like how I got into the coaching thing. Long story short, I got certified, and I was just sitting there like, I need to leave. And then I just made the decision I was going to do 3 months.
That's your own Shawshank Redemption story.
Yeah. Right. Like all these hooks and turns, but, that's pretty, that's like, long story short, that's how I got into
nice. And
long.
I mean, short story long. Right?
Short story long.
Just to make a short story long, this is how I'm going to tell it. So how did you start your band? I mean, I know drumming is a passion of yours too. So have you been in this band since like high school, college, junior high?
Yeah, I used to go growing up. I love music. I love performing. I'm a Leo. So I like being in the spotlight, you know, and people have told me I totally disagree. They said like, you are like the icon in this band. And I was like, okay, that's not true, because I wouldn't be the drummer that I am without these guys.
Right.
Okay, there's no way. Absolutely. They've pushed me. They've challenged me to do different things that have made me who I am. I have a lot of fun when I play. And I think that's something that's so big, because I've learned that from music. You know, it's like, have fun playing music. And I started playing better once I started having fun. But when I was in like 6th grade, I was obsessed with dirt biking, because I grew up riding dirt bikes. And I would always go to my friend's house. He had a track, we'd ride, and then we'd come in and play video games. And he got Rock Band, which is like Guitar Hero, but then they had the drum set. That was like Rock Band's big thing. You can do the singing and the guitars. Like, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. But I always wanted to be a guitarist. Funny story. So I would always play the guitar. I was like first one on the guitar, and my buddy would play the drums. And he was like, James, you want to play the drums? and I'll play the guitar. I was like, yeah, sure. I had no real interest in it. And I just started playing the drums, and it was challenging, but it was really fun at the same time. And it was like, I like coordination,
Yeah.
it's and drums take a lot of coordination. So I just started playing it, and he would play a different video game, but I would just be in there playing drums
All
going ham. And I was doing like there's like 5 stars, and then there's 5 gold stars where you don't miss like one note. And I had that on like the hardest difficulty on expert mode throughout the entire playlist that they had. And my dad picked me up one day, and he was talking to my friend's dad, and Alan was his name. Alan was telling my dad, this kid's getting really good at these drums, and we have an actual drum set that we're just want to get rid of. Do you want to buy it for like $200? So my dad bought me a maple Ludwig kit, and I played that thing for about 5 years until I finally got my own kit. But yeah, that's how I got into drums, was from a video game called Rock Band. And I took two actual drum lessons, and everything else is self-taught.
Nice. That is awesome. And your band is one-armed Joey.
One-armed Joey. Yep.
Where did that come from?
So we have like funny things where people ask us this, and we'll all have a different answer.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, yeah, we were going on a walk through San Diego Zoo, and we saw the kangaroo exhibit, and a Joey popped out of the mama's pouch, and it had one arm. And we were thinking of band names at the time. We said, dude, that's a one-armed Joey. And we said, hey, the name One-Armed Joey, that could be really good. That's not the actual story though. But no, we were coming up with band names. We used to be called Push, but it was just way too generic. There were movies and books and other bands, like a lot of jazz bands. And it was really hard to find us. And Avery, our lead singer, we spent like months trying to think of names. He came over and he said, I had this really cool name that I can't remember exactly what it was. It was something really weird though, and obscure. It was like One-Armed Joey. And we were like,
okay, we'll take that.
That's pretty cool. But it was so weird and obscure that we put it on the back burner for a long time. We had all these different names, and like, we are the first thing that comes up on like Google Images or anything that you look up. If you type in One-Armed Joey, we are the first thing that pops up. So the SEO is incredible, and it's just fun. It fits like our vibe. We our colors for our band, our brand band colors are like gray, white, black, and then pink. Pink is like the big pop color.
Yeah.
So it's just fun, because every time we play a show, I always tell the guys like, hey guys, just have fun. And every time we do that, we crush it. And it's like, because we just have a good time. And
when you have a good time, your audience has a good time.
Exactly. And they don't notice if you mess up. And it's just like the same thing with our businesses as well. If we have the mindset of just have a good time, like just go into this podcast, go into this meeting and have fun, no matter how serious it is, just try and have fun and enjoy it.
Yes. I listen, if it's not fun, why do it? That's my motto.
And it's like, I was recording with the band, and I was getting a little stressed and tired because when you're in the studio, it's like you want all the parts to be right because you record it and then that's done.
You're recording, right?
So it can be a little stressful at times, but the guy was like, hey man, just do one more take. The engineer, he's all, just have fun doing it. And it was like this light bulb went off in my head. I was like, oh, that's right. I always tell myself, just have fun. I just had fun. He like puts his hands up after the song. He's like, that's all I had to tell you. Just have fun.
Why didn't I tell you this the first time you walked in?
That's what he said. Yeah. So I think it's big because it's helped me with, when I go live on my phone or when I go and do a workshop or go speak on a stage, or coach a client, it's just remember, just have fun, just go out and have a good time doing it because it's something you love, it gives you life. And that's the motto, is do what gives you life. Which is why I love
doing this podcast, because it's fun.
It's fun.
When I'm talking to some leaders and CEOs and they get on with me, I'm like, we're just gonna have fun. It's not rocket science, or at least I say rocket surgery. It's not rocket surgery. Let's just have fun, have some fun.
That's fun. That's fun right there.
Yeah, just have some fun. So you and I have talked about probably doing something together. I don't know what it's going to be. So maybe we can get some comments and some feedback from people listening that can figure out what Unshakable Confidence and Audacious Confidence can do together. But I'd like to have some fun. I've never been skydiving, by the way. So how crazy scary is that?
It's different for everybody, because growing up, I always I saw Point Break with my family, which is like the most iconic thing. Everyone's like, oh, you watch Point Break when you like skydiving? Yes, I did. So Point Break was a big influence, but also like I love Spider-Man, and every time
Mhm.
I'd watch a Spidey movie or play a Spidey video game growing up, it was like the coolest thing. I always want to like get to the tallest building and jump
And
off
just
because like the
jump
free
off and
fall. I was
free
like,
base.
yeah, this is so cool. So free fall was just always like every movie that had that I was drawn to, and yeah, I just always wanted it. And my mom knew that I had always wanted it. And my 18th birthday, she bought me a tandem skydive, and
Mhm.
after that, I was like
You
sold.
were
3 seconds
hooked.
out the door, I was like, I'm getting certified. I don't care. Like
So
it's
you still
happening.
skydive today? You still
Yeah.
skydive now?
I
Mhm.
haven't gone in a while because I feel like every time I like am ready to go do it, because I'm working on so many things right now, I do have
Mhm.
to prioritize it more for sure. Um, but it's like then like right now we have so many
Wait,
fires.
stop.
It's
Hold on a
super,
second.
super windy
Say it
lately.
again. Say it again,
Frustrating
because
where it's like,
you broke up.
oh, it got
Go.
crazy. Yeah. So every time that I'm like, this is the weekend that I'm going, there's like some huge like windstorm or some firestorm. And I'm like,
Mm.
is this a sign from God that I just shouldn't go today? I can tell, I don't know how much time do we have left? I can tell you a pretty crazy story about
Yeah, we
skydiving.
have time for it. You can tell me the story.
Okay. So I almost died skydiving one time
Oh,
and I still jump. And people are like, oh, so you're done skydiving, right? I was like, no.
it's like, no.
But I had about 30 jumps. Right now I don't have a whole lot. It's like 150 jumps, which to many people is like, that's crazy. What? You've
Yeah,
jumped
I
out of
don't
a
have one.
right. But like in the world of skydiving, that's like you're a baby,
Right.
basically. And I had about 30 jumps at the time.
Hmm.
And I went up and we did a hop and pop, which is where you jump from about 3,500 feet to 5,000 feet. I think we were up by 4,000 feet. So normally we go to 12, but the
Hmm.
hop and pop is you just jump out, pull your chute, go land. So really short jumps. But we went up to about 4,000 feet, and I was with this guy with 60 jumps or so. Excuse me. And he opens up the door, looks down, gets a heads up, and then jumps. And then I was so used to, because I got like trained kind of this way, to just like watch them, give them about 7 seconds of separation or so, wait till they separate enough and then jump, do my thing. So I jump, hanging out, like do a couple flips, pull my chute, and I'm flying, and I'm like, where's the drop zone? Like there's nowhere to be seen. And I see it like a mile out. And maybe
Uh-oh.
if I was at 12,000 feet, I would have spotted it and been like, oh, I can pull high and then make it. But the dude that I jumped with thought that the wind was going to push us, which is a thing, but it
Yeah.
was not that windy by any means. So I take full responsibility on this, being a leader,
Yeah.
because I should have spotted for myself and been like, I hope he lands okay. I'm going to jump over the drop zone because you fly like a brick.
Yeah.
So I'm going and I'm like trying to remember like, oh, what happens if you like don't land in the landing area? And there's just vineyards all over the place in Cloverdale, California. So it's beautiful when you actually land in the landing area, but when you don't, it's scary. So I should have landed like in these different spots, but I was just like so freaking out that I didn't know what to do. I'm trying to remember everything they taught me, and I'm going straight for this vineyard. And they said to land with the vineyard rows. You don't want to cross them, obviously.
Hmm.
And I'm looking for power lines. I'm looking for like everything possible. I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? And I see this like big open dirt patch. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to land in the dirt patch because I'm so close. Like my trajectory, it's going to help me land there. So I'm going for it. And everything's cool. And I didn't see the one set of power lines right in the middle of the vineyard.
Oh,
And it's like, there's vineyards and trees and you don't see the thin black cable there.
right.
So flying up to it, and I'm like, everything's all good. I didn't see the post because I'm not paying attention, just focusing on this dirt spot. And these lines just show up in front of my face. And I just curl up in a ball. I'm like,
Fetal
oh,
position.
yeah, like, and just ran straight into them. And two of the lines, or three of them, two of them snapped off of my chest and literally broke straight through the lines. And they're like 30 feet in the air, fell from 30 feet in the air with these broken lines around me. And I landed on my side on the vineyard row and then flipped and hit the deck.
Oh,
Yeah.
crap.
And I just stood straight up and was like, I was
It's like, did
swearing at
anybody
the
see
dude.
that?
Yeah, no, I was so livid. I was like blaming the dude, which is a total victim thing. I should have just been like,
Yeah.
oh, that was dumb on my part. But I was like adrenaline out. And I'm trying to and this is the worst part. People get me like with this all the time, but I see the line. It's tangled up inside my parachute.
Yeah.
I gotta clean this mess up. So I see the line and I'm like, all right. So I grab the line and just start pulling it out. And I'm grounded. So like I could have blown, I don't
I
know.
was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
That's a live
So
power line.
my brain wasn't thinking straight. It was bad. off day.
Well,
And
God was with you. Look, you're still
right? Like got some higher purpose, I guess. So yeah, that whole thing happened. And then I turn around, I see the owner walking over and he's just like, you gotta leave. Like, he's like, you can't be here. This is crazy. So yeah, it was scary. I was like just in shock. I didn't play
but you
any.
didn't break anything.
I didn't break any bones. I had some muscle pain, clearly, but I
Yeah.
did not break any bones. I didn't even break a finger. Like literally, I
Wow.
thought it was gonna like snap my spine. And then I went out. I got kicked out of the drop zone because I was a liability. And I like 7 months later or something, finally went back, and I brought some family from Sweden because I'm Swedish.
Mm-hmm.
And my family went up, did a couple jumps, and I went over, and the owner's like, hey, I want you to come with me over here. We want to have you back because we miss you. You know, you're a good dude on the drop zone to help new people and whatnot. So he brings me out to the spot, and I just like see it.
Yeah.
Like those power lines were so high, like 30 feet. And then like looking at the vineyard row, I'm like, how did I not get kebabbed for like on my side, you know, from the stakes sticking
from the
up.
stakes that are sticking
Yeah.
up. Yeah. Wow.
Like imagine that. Oh, that would have sucked. Imagine the dude coming over, seeing me, and I'm just like stuck
You're
in my side,
just
like,
hanging
help
off
me.
of it's like, oh,
You know? Like
call 911.
if I'm a cat, I probably have like 4 lives left out of my 9.
Wow.
Like,
wow.
so it's crazy. But it like those kind of things. I don't know how many people have near-death experiences like that, but it's like really makes you appreciate life. You know, and
yeah. Wow.
gratitude. That's why I start my calls with gratitude, because it's
Yeah.
like it's so big to be grateful for what we do have. And if you're, I mean, it's great for leaders too. I think not enough people like I had a vice president of Mass Mutual that I was working with, and I started doing the calls with him, and I was like, so what's something you're grateful for, and then something you're proud of? And he was like, what? He was like, he's very like official.
Yeah.
He's like, what are you talking about? And yeah, he wasn't used to doing that. And I think it's huge because, you know, gratitude, my definition of gratitude is it's a feeling of deep appreciation for what we have right now. But you don't really you want to experience gratitude. You don't want to just say things that you're grateful for.
Yeah.
It's that full experience of feeling the appreciation, that deep appreciation for what we do have. And like the small things like eyesight. How great for you when you think about it. How nice is it to be able to see or to hear?
I know. It's
yeah.
You have to be grateful for all of it.
Yeah. I was driving to the store one day, and I see this guy who didn't have legs. And he's riding in a wheelchair, pushing himself. And I looked down and I said, I have legs. That's pretty cool.
My legs.
And thank you. Like, thank you, God.
Thank you. Yeah.
So
wow. So gratitude is really a big component. It shifts, even when you're having a bad day, it shifts you really immediately when you focus on what you're grateful for. I just want one other question I want to ask you is, what is your massive positive impact that you're making? Since you asked me that question. Yeah.
I'm not used to getting asked this, actually. My first video that I ever did on my podcast, I said what my MPI was. I don't even remember what it was. It was a pretty long time ago, but it shifts, I think, because we discover more of who we are authentically. Because I want to see more people. My massive positive impact is helping people you really get paid to just enjoy the work that they do. You know, not everybody has to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody has to make millions of dollars, unless it's what they want. That's different. But I think that work is so big because it takes a third of our life, and people work more than they sleep. And if you're going to do that, you might as well enjoy it.
Yes.
You know, and it's like either you're going to find something you enjoy, or you're going to learn how to enjoy it, or recreate the setting so that you can enjoy it. And I think that a work is really, I think why that's so important and why it's like aligns up with confidence and authenticity for me is because it's authenticity is about being 100% you. You know, it's like that quote by Howard Thurman, do what makes you come alive. And do work that makes you come alive, something that you're passionate about, because your work is literally an expression of you.
Yes.
It really is. So
it really is.
People, I mean, 85% of people are unsatisfied with their work. And if in my lifetime, I can see that number and be a part of it and get it down to 50%, I would feel so grateful, you know?
Well, James, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. This is so valuable. You gave me so much great stuff. And, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This is super fun. This is probably one of the most fun podcasts. Don't tell anyone else, but
yeah, no, we won't say anything. We won't say anything.
between
That's
us.
because both of us are into confidence and fun.
Yeah.
That's why.
I agree. Totally.
So until next time, let me know in the comments, let us know how you enjoyed this, and don't forget to like, share, and download this podcast. And check us out the next time for Leading with Audacious Confidence. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Audacious confidence is the unshakable belief in yourself that's so brave and so bold that you step into what's possible despite your feelings, fears, or failures. I encourage you to like, comment, subscribe, and share this out with your friends. To check out more episodes of this podcast, visit our blog, aliciacouri.com/podcast. This is Alicia Couri inviting you to lead your life, your teams, and your organization with audacious confidence. Until next time.